Hello everybody and welcome to another one of my videos. So, do you miss those old Pokemon games that had gotten removed from the official Pokemon website? Because if so, I think you'll really love this video. And that is because today I wanted to discuss the secret world of Japanese online Pokemon games. Now you may remember that back in the day, the Pokemon website used to have these online mini-games on their official English website that were surprisingly a lot of fun, but eventually they got discontinued. Well, me trying to find interesting things, found some pretty interesting things. An entire library of games on the official Japanese Pokemon website. That's right. Now, I couldn't recall what games used to be on the English website. So I went and checked Bulbapedia, and it seems all of these are different. Well, different is a strong word. You see, these online games can only do so much. So they are still all very similar. So the Japanese games on the website is pretty similar to what the English website used to have. Though, there is one at the very end that is really special and something that I was truly shocked by. But at the end of the day, there's still a Japanese library of Pokemon online games to be explored, so let's jump right into it. Now the first game is actually a word puzzle game. The game is really simple. First, on a single line, there is an anagram, and you have to change the letters to write out a Pokemon's name. The game does not tell you what Pokemon it is, obviously, but will give you hints throughout. As you beat the levels, it will get progressively more difficult and will eventually lead to a 5x5 list of letters that you need to turn into a Pokemon's name. Now obviously this is all in Japanese, but lucky for me, I know Japanese. Ni hao. So I started up the game, I swiped there, I swiped that, and was doing well. But then we had level 3. Now, not paying attention to the guide on how to play, I didn't realize that the entire 5x5 area was meant to be used, as the first 2 levels only used one single line. But once I found that out, it was pretty simple. And then came level 4. Now this, well, just see for yourself. So at the end I was able to do well enough. And then I did level 5 and ended up getting a game over before I finished. I was only able to get Mudkips at level before finishing. Overall, pretty enjoyable, especially as I'm not as familiar with the Japanese Pokemon names as I am with the English ones. Now, I said the games were not recognizable, but I actually think that this Emolga one is either the same or very similar to its original, because I definitely remember an Emolga game where you had to collect berries and stuff. I then played a cotton candy minigame. I didn't get it. You sort of had to collect cotton candy as the wind blew it away, like, you know, when you're spinning that machine around, but it had such awkward controls that it wasn't particularly fun. If it had better controls, it may have been more enjoyable though. I then played this icy cold game where you can try to change the rotation and placement of the given letters. I did the alphabet so it's more recognizable, and while at first it was rather simple, it eventually became really difficult, particularly with H. It wasn't even funny. I spent 1 minute and 50 seconds on just the letter H and got a game over as I just gave up. Imagine trying to rotate 4 pieces to form an H, and not being able to do that. They look all the same. I was honestly surprised because it had a lot of different ways to control. Basically, you're given 4 parts of a letter to form an actual letter, and then you basically rotate and move them around and you reverse them. It was like, wow, really complicated, and I feel like H is a very difficult one to get. I don't know. Turns out Corphish is the real final boss. And the next game has some of the best music I've ever heard. No, genuinely. Played it so many times just for the music. The game over music in particular. I'd recommend playing to hear that alone. This was a Solrock and Lunatone one. It seems familiar to me, so maybe it was once in the English library. I honestly don't know. This was also the only game that had a loading screen. I could only imagine it was for the amazing music to be able to be played. I was also really confused as to how to play the game originally, but then I realized that basically the Solrock and Lunatone shift as the day/night cycle goes. So imagine I have a Lunatone and it touches one of those orange pieces, then it takes damage. It was overall really fun, surprisingly, and I'd recommend it. And next is a really weird game. You control Rowlet through this chorus of Pokemon, and if they touch you, it makes you take damage, as well as touching the ground and such. It was basically Flappy Bird, but you can temporarily make one of the types invisible by using a move. It was overall really difficult to control, so I played it twice and went to the next game. This next one is pretty simple. Just some Littens playing Candy Crush. It had pretty neat music as well. This also wasn't like fully Candy Crush, it was more like these colored furballs are always together, and you basically want the biggest combo as possible when like clicking them and like they touch the other color. You get the point. 4 or below is an Ember, 5 and up up is a flamethrower, and my highest combo I think was like a 6 or so. It isn't really skill based or anything like that, so it doesn't really matter. It was surprisingly fun, and the music was really intense for what it was. It sounded like a final rival battle theme or something like that. Now we get a game that actually has lore and entire story to it. It's easily the most thought out from the list, and I actually genuinely enjoyed it. I wasn't really paying attention on how to play the game at first, but once I found out, it was actually pretty difficult, but a good type of difficult. The story goes as follows. You are locked in a haunted mansion. The doors are locked and you can't get out. But there's a letter on the ground of another person who's locked in, seemingly years ago. And basically, they write that they were there for an entire 3 days. Wow. He gives me a hint, which was pretty nice of him, and basically what I had to do was that Gengar would give me left, right, up, and down signal, and I'd have to pick the opposite in a time limit. Eventually, a Pumpkaboo appears, and it'll give me the correct direction, so I'd have to pick exactly what it's telling me. It was a game of trickery and trust. Please take a look. South. Go north. South. Left. Oh gosh. Totally gonna forget Japanese after this, aren't I? Ugh. Okay. Got my first one wrong. It gets to the point where you're not even concentrating what it's doing. It's sort of just I'm sort of just going on my own. Yeah, okay, well. I also really like how in character it was, as Gengar is known to be a trickster and loves to play pranks on people. On the other hand, Pumpkaboo is actually a wandering spirit. So here's my explanation for the lore of this game. A guy got locked in this haunted mansion and was tricked by the trickster Gengar. He then dies after 3 days and starts wandering and becomes a Pumpkaboo. Now this part I'm not so clear on, but somehow he writes the letter on how to get out for me, then tries helping me as the Pumpkaboo to get me out and not let me share the same fate as him. I probably turned this super simple game into a really complicated story, and it was totally unintended, but whatever, it's fun either way. Now for my favorite minigame, Poplio aims to be a dance master, a contender for the best game of the year, quite honestly, though I'm not even sure when it came out, but moving on. It's easily the most simple to explain out of all of these games, and that's that it's a rhythm game, and for the fact that it is an online rhythm game, it's really good. I spent about 7 minutes on it. I played the endless version, which was about medium difficulty, but the thing is, if you get even one input on the beat wrong, you have to start over. And I quickly tried out the other difficulties as well, and I was surprised to hear the song almost seemingly was remixed, or at the very least sped up. And it didn't sound weird being sped up. They were all nice songs, and I'd really recommend trying it out. But there was one that kept messing me up, and that's when they went diagonally up. It was really hard to time that. It was overall a really well-made game, and I find it a shame that it's so obscure in the English realm of things. Now, what I covered so far are all the more, well, basic games. The next one, though, is specifically, well, it's just special. The link even says it. I pop it open, and boom, I get to see this. Now, to see this screen and not get pumped up is like to start up a new Pokemon game and not get excited. So, you may know of a website of where it plays a cry from old generations, and you can guess out of a certain list that it gives you which Pokemon's cry it is. Now, I don't know which came first, but either way, the Japanese website one really is special, based on the visuals alone. It uses the original Gen 1 sprites, which looks awesome, and you can even get a hint where it tells you it's many sprites from those games. While navigating may be difficult, it should be self-explanatory for you guys, so I'll give an explanation. The homepage gives you these options: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. You then have a back-to-back 150 cry quiz, and you can even study for it. It also saves your data, which is so cool. I'm shocked that this isn't an actual minigame. Kids years from now would be talking about it's nostalgic if it weren't an actual Pokemon. It would have been amazing, but I'm glad it's somewhere. I highly recommend checking it all out, and naturally I'll link it all in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please let me know what you think of those old Pokemon games that used to be on the English website, and what do you think of the games that are still on the Japanese website. I really hope you guys check them out, as while they're simple, they're actually pretty fun. Please let me know what you think of everything as a whole. Thank you so much for watching again. Please like if you liked the video, and if you liked me, maybe subscribe. Thanks, bye!